And I remember that day and I said, look, I just want young people to feel they've arrived, not ended up. I want young people to have the opportunity. I want them to wear their YMCA hoodies with pride.
Today's guest is someone whose leadership has transformed lives across Derbyshire and beyond. What's the hardest part of this journey been for you as the YMCA leader?
A YMCA is not a job, it's a way of life. But when you see young people also have such a privileged position working with young people that have had such hard starts in life, and you see them getting out of bed every morning, you're thinking, okay.
Gillian Sewell is the Chief Executive of YMCA Derbyshire, where she spent more than 3 decades championing young people, building communities and leading with heart.
So for me, success looks like a really good, healthy transition, that the work that we're doing is sustainable. And from a reputational perspective, I finish and I leave well. You know, we all genuinely have our to-do lists, but I would challenge that actually, well, how are you going to be? What are you going to be?
Welcome back to Beyond the Numbers. I'm Bev Wakefield, and this is the podcast where we take the stress out of business finance and break down the numbers in a way that actually makes sense. Today's guest is someone whose leadership has transformed lives across Derbyshire and beyond. Gillian Sewell is the Chief Executive of YMCA Derbyshire, where she spent more than 3 decades championing young people, building communities and leading with heart. Under her direction, the YMCA has evolved into a true hub of opportunity, combining housing, education and lifelong learning. She's led projects like the 4.6 million Campus for Learning and Development, which achieved flagship status by communities and local government and was a centre of national significance, and the award-winning Key College, giving young people the tools, training and stability to thrive. Her work hasn't gone unnoticed. YMCA Derbyshire was named YMCA of the Year in 2022, and Gillian herself has been recognised nationally for her contribution to youth development. Soon she steps into one of the county's most prestigious civic roles as High Sheriff of Derbyshire, celebrating service, justice and community leadership. Beyond her professional achievements, Gillian's story is one of extraordinary resilience. In memory of her son, Lewis, she founded the Lewis Sewell Memorial Trust, supporting young performers from underrepresented backgrounds to follow their dreams in the arts, continuing his legacy of courage, positivity and resilience. Gillian's leadership blends compassion with action. She's a voice for inclusion, a builder of opportunities, and a living example of what it means to lead with both purpose and heart. Gillian, welcome. Thank you so much for coming. I've been really excited. I want us to take us back though, before the accolades and the awards and the impending High Sheriff. Tell me where it all started.
I was in London. I was 18 years of age. I was actually a novice. I was with the Sisters of St Joseph of Peace. I was in Westminster at a homeless day centre called the Passage Day Centre. And I witnessed a young man, I didn't understand it at the time, but I witnessed a young man have a tea towel wrapped around his head and threatened with a baseball bat to basically carry drugs across London. Mm-hmm. And I also witnessed grooming, where young women were coming off buses from across the country to Victoria train station and the bus station, and the sisters were actually trying to get them back home and doing a lot of work. And I remember making a commitment that day that I wanted to do something about that. And I subsequently came home and became a youth and community student, a youth and community worker, part-time receptionist with the YMCA in Leicester. Got my degree, got my management degree, and then, I came through and started to work for Derby. And I remember we were building the campus, and I was in London, and I was with a wonderful woman, Lisa Callow at the time, who worked for Derby City Council. And we were trying to convince communities and local government to give us funds to build a new YMCA, where I didn't want people to feel that they'd ended up. I wanted young people to feel that they'd arrived. Mm-hmm. And it was a centre, a campus for young people from the University of Life and Faculty of Hard Knocks, shall we say. And we built it on a university campus kind of feel. And I was trying to convince this funder from government to fund us to build it. I had all the stats and the data, and I wasn't getting anywhere. And in the end, I just pushed it to one side because out the corner of my eye, I could actually see the Westminster Cathedral. And I remember that day, and I said, look, I just want young people to feel they've arrived, not ended up. I want young people to have the opportunity. I want them to wear their YMCA hoodies with pride that they are achieving and they are becoming the best version of themselves. And if you want funders, we'll find it from somewhere else. And we left with a predominant amount of the funding, and we started to build the campus on London Road.
Oh, incredible. And that I mean, there's so many things there. So you've gone from training in London for something completely different to coming all the way back to Derbyshire to actually take something you saw that you wanted to make an impact with and change it.
100%. Yeah. I mean, sometimes young people, you meet the parents and you understand the young person, but also other times you meet the young person, you understand the parents. But sometimes socialization can be a barrier for young people, and it's trying to give them the best opportunities, but also getting them to the point where they will take those opportunities for themselves. And sometimes that doesn't happen. We can attempt it 2, 3, 4 times to actually get a young person to actually become the best version of themselves.
Yeah. So it's actually being able to support those people through this. And obviously what you do at YMCA, and obviously we usually interview business owners. And obviously you do not own YMCA, but you are the chief executive of YMCA Derbyshire. And I actually think you have a tougher job than us as business owners because you have so much extra regulation as well. Not only do you have to keep the charity side of it happy, you've also got housing, you've got Ofsted from the nurseries, you've got everything. Just tell us a little bit about that as well, because I think it's sometimes not understood enough.
To understand, I think, if we take a step back and say, what is a voluntary sector organisation? Because that sometimes is where the misconception comes from. You have a statutory organisation such as the local authority that are, I suppose, dictated by statute, by social policy. Government will say this is what we have to do, what green paper, white paper, whatever paper it is. Through social policy, local authorities will deliver what they have to deliver. Private businesses have their shareholders, be that an individual founder, and that also dictates what they have to deliver. A voluntary sector organisation voluntarily chooses to register with the Charity Commission what we call our Articles of Association and our objects. And the objects of YMCA Derbyshire are housing, education, relief of poverty. They are our statutes, and we actually deliver to those. Once that's said and done, we have to operate just the same as a local authority and a business, but also as a charity, we are governed, heavily governed, but we have an exceptional board as well, consisting of business leaders, charity leaders, church leaders that actually are our governance structures within our board. But we have to be a board of a charity. Then we have our housing. So we're a landlord. So we have all the regulations around that. And as you say, we're also a college. So we have all the regulations around that. And we're a nursery. And we have all the regulations around that. So we do have a lot. We also have governing bodies within our qualifications. So once you've actually managed to do all of that, then we'll actually start doing the day job. And the day job is actually to meet the young person where they are at, the child where they are at, the family where they are at, and also where they need to be.
No, that's amazing, because it is. We've talked loads about this, haven't we, before?
Yeah. I mean, the other thing as well is from a funding portfolio, we own our own properties, so we actually bring in our rent. But again, that's also heavily governed, and the income that comes from that has to stay within that. It can't be used for anything else. Again, with the training and education, so we have to fundraise significantly to actually do our youth and community, because there aren't any funds there for youth and community. Interestingly enough, the very people we work with, we have dictated what we can and can't do with them. So we fundraise to get the freedom to do it differently. And we can actually have grants, contracts, sales, finance, social finance. So we have a whole income generation arm that actually makes sure that that relationship between the child and the care worker, or that relationship between the student and the tutor, or the resident and the housing navigator, we wrap ourselves around those relationships. We give them the tools to do their jobs.
And I think a lot of people would be quite surprised as to how much you do offer at YMCA Derbyshire in terms of under one roof. It's such a significant offering.
The charity sector is sometimes criticised for being so many of us.
Mm.
So we were actually asked if we could actually almost become an umbrella body also for other charities as well. So we had a couple of charities. One came completely into us, another one is a wholly owned subsidiary. But we will never mission drift.
Mm.
Our core is to work with children and young people.
Yeah.
We do work with older people because also they have their transition processes. A young person's missed the transition process completely. Say by the time they're 30, it could be that we need to re-establish their education. But our core are young people.
And you talked a minute ago about all the fundraising that you have to do and everything like that to facilitate it. I think we forget how big a business YMCA Derbyshire is. How much do you have to generate each year almost?
I mean, it's well over 1 million.
Mm.
I mean, we're probably 1.2, 1.3 million that we have to generate each year to actually make sure that we can keep our services running beyond what we're dictated to.
I guess YMCA has got a deep-rooted history, as you say, and you're the custodian for now. What's the hardest part of this journey been for you as the YMCA leader?
Well, going back to, I do say we have to remember our past and renew our present and risk for the future. And it's the renewal and the risk is sometimes the most difficult part. It really is very easy in some senses to open services, but if you have to adapt them, change them or close them, that's where it becomes extremely difficult. But we do that only through research and renewal. So we will research what does the city require of its YMCA? Actually, what are our collaborating organisations also doing? Because the last thing we should do is actually compete with other organisations. So we call it the logic model. So we will research what logically is required of us, and then we will look to do that. But if we are competing with another organisation, then we either need to have that conversation and say, right, how do we complement one another? Or actually, you're doing that better than we are, let's us adapt.
Nice.
And that is sometimes the hardest part because there's also times where confidentiality or employment law structures, we're not able to verbalise that as well as we'd like to sometimes. But, our marketing and comms tend to do their business and actually get the information out there.
Amazing. So you kind of go, okay, lots of the challenges at the moment are going, how are we best serving the city and wider county? And actually then going back and saying, actually, if someone else is doing that and they can do it better, let's work with them in that partnership wise, or otherwise, let's have that kind of conversation.
Yeah.
I guess it is an incredibly difficult thing to take custody of something like the YMCA as well. And all the challenges and everything else surrounding it, both from keeping the lights on through to driving it forward as you have done.
Yeah. I mean, the good thing is the YMCA as a local charity, we're locally governed, we're locally managed, and we live and die by our local relationships. But we also affiliate to the national. And I'm on the board of YMCA England and Wales. So I also see what's happening in my fellow YMCAs across England and Wales. And then the national affiliate to the European and European to the Global Alliance. I had a past chair that was also the president of the World Alliance. So if there's something I need to pick up from another YMCA, like health and fitness, I'd probably go to the YUSA. If there was an issue, say, around a drug issue, which we don't have, by the way, but if there was one, I remember about 15 years ago, I actually went to Central America YMCA, not physically, but I contacted them and said, can you send us some information on the impact of drugs in your community? And they sent us everything to do with child soldiers and what was happening in their communities. And I shared that with young people. And there's one thing a young person is really passionate about is injustice. And that actually got them to think again what the drug culture was like, what was happening behind the scenes that they weren't seeing. So we can be really well connected. If something's happening in another country, we will be able to pick that up and bring it back to Derbyshire.
Nice. So that collaboration's huge, isn't it, being part of that wider network then?
Yeah, I mean, we're in 124 countries and 65 million people get our services at any one time.
Yeah, that's mind-blowing. How many people do you impact and work with in Derbyshire now?
Oh, that's a really good question. I mean, living with us, we have over 200. Training with us, we have over 70 within our lifelong learning as our students. But we also have hundreds coming through on our pupil referrals. We also work with hundreds, if not thousands, of young people in our partnership primary schools, where we have our Y Kids programme and our PPA programmes. We also work in our nurseries, where there's over 100 babies and families in our nurseries, and absolutely hundreds of thousands coming through on our poverty relief programmes.
And you do all of this role whilst also managing something that's deep to my heart as well, in terms of the Lewis Sewell Memorial Trust.
Yes, I mean that's when YMCA also really came into its own. Sadly, during the pandemic, my son was diagnosed with terminal cancer at the age of 17, and he passed soon after at the age of 18. And the YMCA held us. They completely held us as a family. I stepped back and was able to be mum full time, while the local YMCA completely supported us, but also the global movement supported us as well. And CEOs decided amongst themselves as well that they would co-fund and, contribute to my salary and what have you. So they were just phenomenal and helping us. But yes, when Lewis was near end of life and he knew he only had a few days, we did speak to him and said, that love alone would remember him, but was it anything particularly would have us do in his name? And he said, help other young people. Don't allow lack of funds to stop them fulfilling their dreams, talented young people in performing arts. But he was very clear they couldn't be cocky. He was very clear about that. And they had to be passionate, they had to be driven. But also they were the humble ones, really, in the back of the classroom who had the talent, but just needed the confidence to come forward. And today there's 30, 31 young people receiving Lewis's funds, but also we have 3 scholarships as well. Dame Eileen Phillips is his patron, and there's West End Stars. They come up twice a year, do a West End show. We've got one coming up in December at Repton School. And that's, again, is where Derby comes into its own, is, Embark Federation help us massively. You help us massively. We've had Repton, Cosy, Direct YMCA, Derby Theatre. The support we get is significant, and we get the 6 West End Stars come up, they put on the performance, we raise the funds, but also young people within the community get to perform with West End Stars, and funds are raised, and everybody goes home, and then we do it again 6 months later. And Katie Co Studios, I cannot not mention them. They are phenomenal. And again, another local charity, a local performing arts organisation. So using I suppose the skills and talents of being a charity leader, I was able to transfer that over to Lewis's trust to make sure that it was governed and managed. And indeed, the chair that was Hilary Disney, she is on that as a solicitor, and a regional director that was for the YMCA is on that as our treasurer, and then we've got local people that support it as well.
You juggle so much.
I think everyone does, don't they?
You said something a moment ago, and we've had quite a few discussions about this. You said being a mum. And I think that's a really interesting thing to dive into sometimes, because lots of people have different views, don't they, on motherhood and running a business and being a business leader or a business owner. And I kind of wanted to delve a little bit into that.
I mean, it's really interesting when, again, I suppose it goes back to Lewis. A few people actually came to me and said, do you regret working when subsequently your son became so ill? And I said, I didn't work when my son was ill. However, the opportunities that he got were significant. And now, because I have to be, as a mum, I think all of us have to be true to ourselves to be able to be good mums. I'm not saying that at home mums do any differently, but you have to have time to be who you are. And interestingly enough, we have 2 lists, don't we? And we have a to-do list and a to-be list. But I think as a mum, that's where your to-be list is. I remember going to my own mum and feeling really guilty that I was a working mum. And she said, Jill, the time that you have with your boys is that time, and it's really precious, and you probably give so much during that time. I was exhausted with them when they were younger. Oh my goodness, you run out of work, don't you? You go and pick them up from school. You get them to they have better social lives than the rest of the world put together. I
We
don't
become
think.
taxi drivers, don't we?
Oh yeah, yeah, cleaner or tax. I went back to work for a rest, quite frankly.
I remember sitting here up though saying, I
Mm,
want to be Bev again.
mm,
Like, as much
mm,
as I
mm.
loved being mum as well,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
needed to be me too.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. To me, I think it's part of the package. We can be multiple things to multiple people, but if we're not true to ourselves, I'm not sure we've got the best version of ourselves either. And also, I've got huge support from my husband. You know,
Mm,
he's really we tag team.
yeah. No, thank you. Because it's always an interesting one. Um, Sometimes there's a moment that shifts everything. It might look small from the outside,
Hmm.
but it was the turning point.
Hmm.
Do you know what yours was? Have you had numerous?
Yeah, I mean, there are two. I'd say there's one personally and one professionally. So, from a professional base, I remember we built the campus for learning and development, flagship status, centre of national significance, and within was it weeks or months, we received 100% funding cut. And I think it was. I'm not sure at the time. I think it was, well, we've got this incredible centre, we have no choice but to cut their funding because we're in austere times and what have you. And it was one of those moments where I thought you wouldn't build a hospital and then withdraw all the medical staff, and you wouldn't build a school and withdraw all the teaching staff. We have built this campus for training and education, and you're withdrawing all the housing stuff. And so we sent out a very clear message to the city. I mean, I'm going back. Don't think I've got over it yet. I'm going back about 15 years
Mm.
now. And there was two things really. We said to the city, the level of chaos we will work with would be dictated by the level of resource we have got. And then I was absolutely determined at that point that we would never, ever, ever again have one funding stream that would bring us to our knees,
Mm.
that we would diversify. And again, our funding portfolios, grant sales, contracts, fundraising, and I'm actually in the middle of creating social enterprise that will actually invest back into the charity. And we're looking at almost like an unbreakable model. But when you work with people in significant need, there's always going to be assistance required from social policy. But um, yeah, we need to be masters of our own destiny. We build accommodation and we continue to build accommodation, and the income from the rent from that will pay for the housing stuff.
You said then as well that you were determined. And I can remember when I spoke to you upstairs for probably quite a few hours when we caught up last. And I think that's what I walked away with in terms of going, wow, she's one of the most determined women I think I've ever met. In there, in terms of going, you know what, we've been cut funding. But actually, what we're going to do is we're going to have to pull whatever, but we're going to make it work. We're never going to be reliant again. I can remember you saying something about policy, and it was like, no, actually, I'm just going to go and sort this. Even down to Lewis's A-level results, he needs those, and we're going to find them. And I just think there's something throughout your whole core where you've got this incredible determination.
I got that from my mum. I mean, my mum raised four children on her own. She was an incredible woman. And it wasn't a case of I can't do that. It's a case of, right, I need to do that differently. How am I going to do that?
Mm.
And I also really learned from Lewis as well. I mean, Lewis fought so hard to live, and really out of respect for him, we will. We absolutely will. We will live to the best versions of ourselves as we can because he fought so hard to do so.
Mm.
So I think that determination may well be in my socialization, my character, and my genes. But also, I think life, when you see young people also have such a privileged position working with young people that have had such hard starts in life, and you see them getting out of bed every morning, you're thinking, okay, I'm going to learn that from you as well.
Mm.
The determination you can also see from other people, and other people, I think, the support that the YMCA gets, the support I get, the friendships, the partnerships, the relationships. My chair, Julian, Smith. The support we get is significant, and I think sometimes it can be a collective determination.
No, it's true. So I guess you've had determination instilled in you, perhaps
Yeah,
from
my mum.
being a wee tot, all the way through to actually pulling on other people's determination and going, actually, I can see what you're doing and I'm turning up for you too.
Yeah.
And you said there were 2 turning points, one personal as well.
Yeah, and that was Lewis. That was he was a young boy when he got diagnosed, and then he became the man that we started to see the man that he was going to be, and just huge respect for the way he actually handled the whole situation and looked after other people to make sure they were okay, with the news that we'd got. And he was a real turning point that, and also not wallowing.
No.
It was really important not to wallow, because that's disrespectful. Okay, there's a time for it, at the time where we lost Lewis, but actually you have to move on from that, but positively, and I think that's the trust. Lewis was very clever, asking us to do that. I mean, gosh, he also asked us to spread his ashes at one point on the base camp at Ben Nevis, and I said, that is so not happening. And then he said, actually, take me down the River Wye. So about 40 of us canoed down the River Wye. And he was very clever, because actually we practiced and we spent time doing that together. So that was a real turning point. That also, from being a leader, a business leader, a charity leader, it's actually knowing also when to switch off.
Yeah.
And now I do a lot of extracurricular activity, which you were also involved in, with dancing and marathons and goodness knows what else. But it's living life to the full.
And that's a really hard thing, though, as a leader, to be able to switch off and go, no, I'm not going to think about this or work all the hours, and actually build in other things for life.
I wished I'd learned that sooner.
Okay.
That would be one of the things I wished I'd learned sooner, was, and it sounds a bit cheesy, but when I go home at night, I literally tap the wall and think, I'm leaving that there. I need to leave that there. I will pick that up again in the morning. Social media sometimes doesn't help, or you get a call at home that you need to receive, obviously. But I do wish I'd maybe earlier on in life got a better work-life balance and actually leaving stuff at work. But sometimes when you're growing it, you can't. So it's knowing when. I think each of us will know when it's time to switch off.
And I think that will resonate with a lot of people. I know that you can all struggle with being able to switch off. I'm sometimes like, where's that switch that I could just close at the end of the day? Interesting we've just said that, actually, because it was, if you were to look back and reflect, what were the tactics, habits or approaches that you really would give credit for the growth that you've achieved?
I think realising that you're not a lone soldier, not doing it on your own. I mean, again, that's the other thing. I'm really, really blessed with an incredible leadership team, and also really good governance structures and fantastic trustees. But also, we've got brilliant partnerships, relationships with businesses and what have you. So it's actually, don't be the lone wolf, but also, it's also working to get the best out of people. Interestingly enough, again, when I was actually on compassionate leave and I came back, I didn't go straight back into the CEO I was before I went off. I actually thought, well, you've grown in that area. You've really developed in that area. Actually, I think I'm needed over here now. So it's allowing other people to not manage and control, empower and enable.
Yeah.
I think when you're new to management and leadership, you tend to have whatever's in your circle of control, you will control. Whatever in your circle of authority, you will authorize. But actually, I think it's the mature you become and the more experienced you become. I don't know whether it's taking calculated risks, but you allow and you should employ people that can do the job better than yourself.
Yeah.
There was someone taught me something, that performance equals ability minus interference.
Yes.
If you employ well-able people, but then the interference is as such that it affects their performance, just check that you're not the interference. Just check that your leadership style and your management style is not the interference to their performance. And that is something that I wished I'd known a few decades ago.
Because that's a really hard thing, isn't it? As you say, being a leader, you feel like you've got to be in control, you've got to know. But yes, being able to empower people that are better than you to take those. I think there's like 4 different levels of delegation. And I think the first ones are quite almost controlling, and then the others are going, okay, I'm here for you. If there's a failure, I'm here for you. But I've backed where you were going. And it's actually been able to get to that position with the right people, isn't it?
Yeah, and managing people differently, meet them where they are at to bring them where they need to be.
Yeah.
So each of the leaders in YMCA are pretty much managed differently, really. To bring out the
We're all
best.
different, aren't we? So yeah, it makes perfect sense, really. Can I go into a quick fire round?
Okay.
Are you ready? Don't overthink them, although we tend to end up talking for longer than we do as a quick fire anyway. So if you could give one piece of advice to your younger self, what would it be?
Do less. Don't only do a to-do list, do a to-be list as well.
Oh, no.
Because a number of times you walk away thinking, I wish I'd done that differently. Sometimes it's not what we do, it's how we are while we're doing it.
I like that, a to-be list. What's one belief, habit or rule you wish you'd unlearned earlier?
Oh, I think I may well have already answered that, and as far as that I'm not the only solution. That it's actually, don't delegate to the point of abdicate, but allow others to come through it.
What's the best investment you've made? Money, energy or time?
I think every time it would always be time in my industry, the best investment I've ever made. Oh gosh, that's a really good question.
It's a difficult one, isn't it?
It is. Do you know, actually, the best investment is actually investing in, you see it when staff start coming through, that there's investing in people. 100% investing in people and the time. And I think that also benefits Derbyshire. It definitely benefits the YMCA.
And also, I think when you said a second ago, actually taking more time, perhaps even investing more time for you to do the endless marathons, dancing, things that you get pulled into.
Yeah, learn to say no, I actually think might be something.
Maybe.
Yes. That might be something I need to learn. Say no.
That's a really interesting one again, though. Saying yes and saying no. And I think I did a whole podcast on this because we're brought up a lot of the time to say, Richard Branson, say yes now and then try and figure out what to do after. I saw a post the other day and I can't think who it was from, saying yes because it was the lady that runs Carbon, the CEO of Carbon. And she's like, say yes to the opportunities because life's short. But also then saying say no. And you do say no from a YMCA perspective if it's not aligned with your purpose. So how do you make those decisions? Which ones do you make the yeses to? Or...
Oh, that's a brutal question.
Sorry. Or is it a bit like, I'll just say yes anyway?
I mean, my mum used to always say to me, you jump in and go, oh, that's deep. Should I what? That might be something I'll actually need to have a look at.
Yeah,
I have actually. No, I don't think I've got that yet. I don't think I've got that yet.
Oh, I don't think we always have it figured out. But there's so many conflicting things with it, isn't there? Like say no, say yes.
I think now I actually look at things and say, that would be good for my health and well-being?
Yes.
Yeah, that'll be a good use of time. I think I'm going to really enjoy that. So heaven knows why I said I'd do a marathon. I'm not sure how, but I did go to YMCA England and Wales and say, who on earth thought that was a good idea?
Marathon's grueling.
Yeah, thanks.
Right now, what does success look like to you?
Well, I actually, because I'm in nomination as a High Sheriff, I actually, it'll be later on next year, I do retire from the YMCA. And I think from my successor's perspective, I want them to sit there and think, I don't want them at any point to sit there thinking, what in God's name was she thinking when she decided to do that? So for me, success looks like a really good, healthy transition. And that the work that we're doing is sustainable. And from a reputational perspective, I finish and I leave well. A YMCA is not a job, it's a way of life. So things will be changing in regards to me being a leader for them. But That's for me, success looks like from a voluntary sector perspective that the person who takes over from me, the new custodian, receives it in a better condition
Then you left it.
than I left it.
That's a bit like how we should leave the planet, isn't it, for our ancestors?
Yeah.
You mentioned about retiring then, and I want to pick up on this a little bit because it's a really difficult transition. So for business owners when they sell, or even just retiring at the end of employment, we sometimes don't always think about that next step. We've got to the top of the mountain and we don't always think about how we're going to get down. Now, clearly you're doing a whole year of service as a High Sheriff. So that's going to take a lot of focus. What else are you going to spend your time with, and how are you planning retirement?
I'm really blessed to have a really good partner, my husband Ian, who, God love him, he's replayed the wedding video a few times to say, what point did he say, do you take this woman in the YMCA to be your lawful wedded wife? So he's us spending time together is going to be really good. So he's going to probably look at what he's going to do a year after I finish. But I've got Lewis's trust as well. I think that will keep me really busy. I'm actually in places where I never thought I would be, in conversations I never thought I would have, and that's really exciting. So I'll probably be quite involved in that as well, really. And I've got family and friends, but I don't know. I mean, I'm going to remain as a trustee of YMCA England and Wales for another 3 years, so I'll finish my tenure there. But and see, actually. To me, it's not retiring, it's just doing something different.
Yes. And you've got lots to keep you busy anyway. And like you said, the Lewis Sewell Memorial Trust has taken you to places and probably met people that you never thought you'd get the privilege of meeting as well.
Yeah, I mean, Dame Eileen Phillips she's a gorgeous, gorgeous woman, and she's been incredibly supportive. Lord Webber has been incredibly supportive. You've lots and lots of West End people, and we also have good friends that's a Broadway director, and he's coming over next week to the YMCA Youth Matters Awards with his husband, who's our producer, and now we've brought a choreographer in because of the result of the dance. So Ben, that I danced with in the summer, he's now a choreographer for the trust. So it's starting to grow.
It's all that community again, isn't it? It's creeping through.
Yeah, it's connections and connectivity and networks, and I can't see that disappearing, to be honest. I mean, Derby and Derbyshire is just, it's a gorgeous place. It's good people. But it'll be interesting to see what my relationships are like with people when I cease being the CEO.
Yeah.
That's the thing I'm most fascinated about.
Yes, because we do have almost like a bit of a questionnaire where we go through and go, if you were going to do a big celebration event, who would you invite? Is that a lot of the business connections? And obviously YMCA is part of your family almost. And actually your son works there as well, doesn't he?
He's a volunteer.
And
yeah, he's up for an award next week. Well, he's been shortlisted. He's down to the last 3 for Volunteer of the Year. And we've also got a young person, one of our residents has been shortlisted as well for Young Achiever of the Year. So for the whole of England and Wales. So as I say, YMCA, I mean, Matt, my son, is a youth ambassador. So he's a national and European youth ambassador for the YMCA.
Got you.
So he's a social worker in his own right in Derbyshire.
He's become deeply embedded, and that's as a business does as
born
well.
Into it.
Yeah, born into it. Literally, yeah.
He was born into it, literally. Christened in a YMCA.
Who's one unsung hero who shaped your journey?
Ian, my husband. He is mine and Matt's. He's our absolute rock. He's so gentle and calm and quiet, but empowering. He celebrates when we celebrate. Total opposite to me. I wouldn't be where I am today without him. And he kind of holds us together. He quietly gets on with it. I mean, he's successful in his own right, but he just quietly. He's our anchor, our backbone, our framework, our everything. That's he.
Behind every great person is another great person.
Yeah. Oh, his tolerance levels are stratospheric. And his patience is second to none. He's the calming influence of like, are you seriously going to do that, Jill? Like, you think that's a really good idea? I wish you'd done that with the marathon. I've got to be honest.
Put reason in.
Yeah.
But then he's also clearly supported you and kind of helped you drive forward as well, and actually going, no, go do that. Go do the things that you're passionate about.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like, you don't do the hard shoulder, Jill. You just don't. Let's get you to where you need to be. So he's so, yeah, the YMCA is genuinely the third person in our marriage. There's no doubt about it. And he's been so tolerant of it.
And what's one line you say to yourself when things get tough?
It's usually when it's a bit of an interesting scenario, I'm saying to myself, stay calm, don't react.
Yeah,
Stay calm, don't react. And then I'm not calm and I react. And that's what that's every single time I'd actually maybe put that on my epitaph. She didn't stay calm and she did react.
She didn't stay calm and she didn't react. I love that.
Yeah, stay calm and don't react, because reacting could make a bad situation worse.
Yeah.
And if you're not calm, you're not hearing exactly what's going on. You're already judging. And as my mum always said to me, Jill, you've eaten the orange before you peeled it. So it's actually, don't jump ahead, just bring it back. And I wished I could follow my own advice a lot of the time. But yeah, stay calm and don't react.
It's a hard one though, isn't it?
It is, because even if you do need to react, get it to the point you're responding and not making a bad situation worse.
And if we did put something on every business owner's wall, would that be the emblem you'd want on there?
Yeah.
Sleep on it, maybe underneath as well.
Sleep on it. Don't send that email yet.
Send it to yourself and think about it.
Take the capital letters out and the exclamations. It's all good.
How many emails have gone out by accident? I've heard a few of those horror stories. And then I'm down to my final question, which is, what would you want someone to take away from this podcast? Like, what would you want them to really see?
I think it goes back to that being and doing. We all genuinely have our to-do lists, but I would challenge that actually, well, how are you going to be? What are you going to be? Yeah, that would be the one. Don't just do the to-do and the to-done. What's the to-be list?
And has that really evolved for you over the years?
Yeah, 100%. How do I need to be in this situation? Do I need to be strong? Or do I need to take a step back? How am I going to be in this scenario, this situation? And I find that way it actually helps manage the emotions if you've already decided how you're going to be. And it goes back to that reacting again.
Yes, beautifully knitted together.
Because the to-do list's there, and it'll there ever be.
Always the loop of your on.
Yeah. But how are we going to be today?
I like that. How am I going to turn up? How am I going to, which version of myself?
Yeah. Who's turning up today? I mean, sometimes I'll do that at the start of a meeting. I'll actually write, who have I got in the room today?
That's a great idea. That might be a quote as well.
Who have we got in the room today?
Yeah.
Usually the body language tells you who you've got in the room today. You're like, oh, we've got that in the room today.
I've taken so much from that, from making sure that you stay so close to your purpose and we're not drifting. The fact that the YMCA, and like every other business owner as well, it becomes such a fabric in the family within family, but also as part of ourselves. And that's something not to shy away from, and actually to celebrate and bring everybody else on that journey, to make sure that we're collaborating and complementing our community and our connections and driving that together. That determination, but also using other people's determination to kind of fuel us. And don't be a lone wolf. I think that's one of the hardest things for people, of not asking for help and actually surrounding yourself with great people.
100%.
Thank you so much for that. I've absolutely loved it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh.